Hi, what's up? My name's DL. I am a financial coach. I started a business called Reclaim Your Wallet. It's a financial coaching business, and my goal is to help guide you through the decisions that will lead to the goals you're trying to set. So, as a financial coach, I just basically help you learn how to make smart decisions with your money and learn how to achieve the goals that you want. I don't tell you what to do with your money. That's not really my forte. I don't believe that a financial coach should tell you what to be doing with your money. I will guide you through the process of understanding your relationship with it and understanding how to make decisions that align with your values and your goals. So in this video, I actually wanted to talk about buying a home. And I'm sure that you're well aware of what the home market is doing right now. It is extremely unaffordable to buy a house right now for many, many people. And if you're one of those people, this video is for you. I am going to be looking down and referencing my notes because I tend to lose my train of thought and get distracted by shiny things and by other different trains of thought. So for your sake, I have notes to help kind of keep me on track. Okay, so a couple of my objectives for this video. I want to really break down with you a couple of things. So first thing I want to do is I want to help you understand and really get in tune with why it is important to you to own a home, why you're even wanting to own it. Because if you're weighing the decision of whether or not to buy a house, even though it's kind of unaffordable, or you're wondering, should I buy a house in this market right now? Should I wait? This video is also for you because I am really going to help you try to determine the reasons behind why you want to own the home. And then that can help you decide, no matter what the market's doing, whether or not you should make the decision to buy a home. So the first thing I want to do is I want to help you really get in tune with and understand your values and why you want to own a home. The second thing I want to do in this video is I really want to break down kind of what is involved with home ownership and how it's different from renting. And then the third thing I wanted to do is help you, if you do decide to buy a home, I want to make sure that you do it the right way, without having the stress and the anxiety that comes from something that's just too heavy of a financial burden on you. So my goal is to guide you through this decision, and I want to help you do it in a way that you can be comfortable with your decision and you can really get into it and understand why you're wanting to make this decision in the first place. And then there's a myth actually that I wanted to debunk. And the myth is that you have to own a home in order to be considered an adult. A lot of young adults right now, and my generation, myself included, I've had to overcome this belief, but it's a limiting belief that you have to own a home in order to be considered a responsible adult. That is a myth, so I will be debunking that in this video too. If these are topics that you're interested in, stick around and watch the video. Maybe give me that thumbs up button so that I'll know that my content is relating to you and to your interests. And feel free to pop in the comments questions that you have or insights that you might have gained or want from this video so that I can make better content for you in the future. All right, so let's just dig into it. So the first thing I mentioned is I want to help you understand why you own a home, or why you want to own a home. So, maybe you've never thought about it. Maybe you're just like, well, I want to own a home because that's what you're supposed to do. And when it comes to making financial decisions, that is never, it never leads to really a wise decision. It's kind of like the lottery. Sometimes you might win it, but chances are you'll strike out more than you'll win. So it's kind of the same if you're making decisions that aren't aligned with your values or your dreams and your goals, you're just doing it because you feel like you should. That is going to increase your anxiety levels. It's going to lead to stress. You're not going to be satisfied with the choices that you're making, and you're overall just going to not enjoy your lifestyle that you're leading. So I want to dig into the values, dig into the things that are really driving you, wanting you to make this, or that are driving you and make you want to own a home. Some questions that you could ask yourself throughout this process is, what is most important to me in life? Right? This is things that help you get in tune with your values. So right now we're not really talking about homeownership. We're going to put that aside for just a minute, and we're going to get in tune with your values. Ask yourself, what do I want the most in life, or what's most important to me? And take a minute and write that down, and and think about it for a while. Like, what is most important to me? What are some things to you that either you enjoy doing, that make you feel good or fulfilled? And what are some values that you really tend to gravitate toward? For some people, those values might be family, might be education or literacy. Some people might be self-development is a value. So those are some values, and you can Google a list of like what are values if you kind of need ideas. So maybe, make a list of some of those values, and then really try to picture what you want your lifestyle to look like. And by doing this exercise, you can make not only the decision of homeownership, but really any financial decision work well for you. Okay? So that's the first thing that we need to do to get in tune with our values. And I'll give you some time to do that. So now that we've done that and you've had time to kind of explore your values, I want to dig in and apply that to homeownership. Now I want you to ask yourself question, does this decision align with my values? Why or why not? Now, I want you to go one step deeper, and if you said, yes, it does align with my values, then ask yourself this question. Well, if it aligns with my values, does it align with my values right now? Okay, so, and then what I'm trying to get with that is, you might have a big picture item, and you picture yourself settling down in your house and raising your family and having that stability and that security, and that's a big picture of something that aligns with your values of, let's say, family and stability and security. But if you go a step deeper and say, does it align with my values right now? Some of the things that you need to analyze are, do you right now have the financial means to obtain that while still being in line with your value of security and stability? And I'm just using these as examples. Because if it aligns with your big goals, but your income isn't currently in a spot where you can afford it and still feel secure, then it doesn't align with your values right now. So that might be an indicator that you should wait on buying a home. And I never recommend making these types of decisions based off of what the market is doing or what external factors are happening, because personal finance decisions are personal. The market isn't personal. Some other person's advice, not personal, not to you. This needs to be an individual decision that helps you obtain your goals. Okay, so let's go back, if you did answer yes to it aligns with my goals, and yes, it aligns with my goals right now, then it may be a good time to buy a home. So that's a good way you can kind of gauge whether or not it's a good time to buy a home. It also helps you gauge whether or not you even should buy a home at all. Because if you say, no, actually, it doesn't align with my goals, I guess an example of it not aligning with your goals is if you like to travel a lot and you kind of want to live more of a nomadic life where you're moving every time your lease ends or every couple of years. Homeownership isn't the best option if that's the lifestyle you really are wanting, because a homeownership, a mortgage, it really ties you down. It's harder to get out of than just renting. When your lease is up after the end of a year, you can just go and change. Mortgage, that doesn't happen with. It's a lot harder to get out of right? And so it might kind of interfere with that lifestyle that you're wanting to live. So I'm hoping this framework kind of helps you break down the decision a little bit more on whether or not you're going to buy a house. I'm not telling you one way or another whether or not you should or whether or not you shouldn't. I'm just going to help you guide yourself into making that decision. Okay? All right. Now I want to dive into section 2 of this video where we talk about some of the expenses and some of the commitments that go into homeownership. And I'm just going to list a few. Again, I'm not going to be comprehensive in here. I'm going to list a few of the things that go into homeownership, and then I will share some resources in the link at the bottom of this at the bottom of the video in the description section. I'm going to share some resources that you can go to really help you break down and understand really what goes into homeownership. So right now I want to talk about a few things. Number 1 is maintenance. Maintenance is something that goes into homeownership that differs from renting, because typically when you're renting, your landlord is the one paying for all the maintenance and the upkeep on your apartment. If something breaks in your apartment or your house that you're renting, it's the landlord's responsibility to fix it. That doesn't come out of your budget and out of your paycheck. Another one is insurance. And while you likely, and you should, it's a good idea to have renter's insurance. If you have that, typically homeowner's insurance is more expensive and, a lot more comprehensive. So that's another cost that will go into, and it will usually cost you a few $100s a year. A lot of times it'll be tied into your mortgage payment, but sometimes it won't. It just depends. Typically it is though. And then another one is taxes. You're going to have to pay likely a few $1,000s a year in taxes, which breaks down to a few $100 a month to you. But you're going to have to pay extra in taxes every year. You also have other expenses that, in addition to maintenance of the house, of things breaking, you also have maintenance in regard of you need to mow the lawn. You need to keep up with the outside appearance of the house. And then you've got maintenance in the form of utility bills. Utilities typically cost a lot more in a house than they do in an apartment, and you need to be aware of that. Some of the utilities that are involved in homeownership, and you may be paying all of the utilities with your rental, with your apartment and your house. I've lived in some places where I had to pay all of my portion of the utilities for my unit, and I've lived in some places where the landlord covered all the utilities. So it could vary, but typically the utilities when you own a home are more expensive. A little apartment doesn't cost as much to run as a standalone house. So utilities are going to be things like your gas, your water, your sewer trash, your electric bill. Those are things that are all going to cost you quite a bit of money, and that can all add up to another few $100s a month extra on top of your mortgage payment. So if you're trying to weigh the options like, I could pay a mortgage payment for $2,000 or I could rent an apartment for $2,000, you're actually going to be paying more for the house for that same $2,000 because your apartment, your rent is likely going to include some of the costs like maintenance, like the utilities, depending on your lease, the terms of your lease. And the utilities, if you do have to pay them, they're probably going to be cheaper than they would in a house. So these are just a few of the things that go into homeownership and a few things that you should be considering when you're comparing the two side by side. Is financially, a home actually requires a lot more money every month than renting your apartment, and it could equal even $1,000 or more when you compare them, given everything else on top of your mortgage payment that you have to pay. All right, so that's section 2 of your video, is some of the things that go into homeownership. Oh, I forgot to mention in this section before I move on, in addition to the financial commitments of homeownership in the monthly cost realm, you also have the fact that you are tied into typically a 30-year contract. If you're getting a 30-year mortgage, that's the most common type of mortgage, is a 30-year. And if that's the mortgage that you're trying to get into, or sorry, if that's the mortgage that you select, there's also the time commitment that you have. It's a lot harder to get out of a mortgage, and you're on the hook for the full amount of the mortgage if anything happens. If you lose your job, you still have to pay that mortgage, or you could get it foreclosed, and you could get the bank to take away your house, right? If you don't make your mortgage payments as agreed upon. You could sell it. There's always the option to sell the house. That's a common belief. However, there's really not always the option to sell the house, because when it's in a seller's market, like it is right now, if you were to sell a house, you'd probably make more off of it than you bought it for, depending on when you bought it. If you bought it recently, you wouldn't. But then sure, selling a house might be easy. And with the fact that, people have been buying houses without even looking at them, it might be easy in that regard to sell a house. But that is not the norm. That actually is not very common for that type of market. For the frenzy that we've seen recently isn't a common situation when it comes to buying and selling homes. So a home is it's actually probably going to be a lot harder for you to sell. It'll probably take a lot longer. Sometimes it takes 6 months, 9 months, a year to actually sell the house that you're trying to sell. Sometimes you can't sell it for the amount that you need out of it. You might not be able to sell it for what you bought it for, and you might actually end up owing money on a house that you no longer have if you sell it for an amount less than what you owe. So there's that commitment that is involved with homeownership, as well as the length of time that you're really locked into that homeownership. If anything were to happen, or if you like to move every few years and you want to explore different things, probably not the best option. All right, now I'm actually wrapping up section 2 about the different commitments that go into homeownership. And I'm going to move on to section 3 of this video, and I want to talk to you about how to do it the right way. Now, this section of the video, I again am not going to tell you which answer is correct and which way is the right way. I'm actually going to give you or help guide you through or demonstrate, I guess, how to determine how to do it the right way. So some things that you want to consider when you're deciding whether or not you're buying the home the right way or the wrong way. And side note, you're going to see a lot of other financial gurus out there giving you advice in different ways. Dave Ramsey is one who he gives you advice that he says you have to buy it on a 15-year mortgage with 25% of your take-home pay is the max amount that you'll spend on the monthly mortgage. He will tell you that that is the right way to buy a home. You'll have other people who will tell you a 5/1 ARM is the right way to buy a home. And then you can take advantage of the adjustable rates in the mortgage. You'll also tell you, no, 30-year mortgage is the right way to buy a home, because then you have a little bit more wiggle room in your mortgage payment, and it's not as expensive as a 15-year mortgage every month. Now, there's a lot of this advice that goes out there that tells you the right way to buy a home. Everyone has a different opinion on what is the right way to buy a home. The only opinion that actually matters in this equation is yours. And you might be lost and wondering, well then, what is the right way to buy a home? And that's what I want to help you understand, is the right way that aligns with your values and your current situation. If you do not feel comfortable financially with the mortgage payment, if it puts you in a situation where you're spending upwards of 40 to 50% of your take-home pay on a mortgage, that's going to make you feel very financially stressed and very uncomfortable and burnt out with your mortgage payment. So you want to make sure that it aligns with your financial ability to pay it. You also want to make sure that when you buy the home, you buy a home that you love, and that you will be able to enjoy your lifestyle in. And if you're spending too much money a month on your mortgage payment, where yeah, you own a home, but you can't afford to fix some repairs, and you can't afford to go out with friends, and you can't even afford furniture for your house, you're not really enjoying your home or your lifestyle. And so that might also be an indicator that you might not be doing it the right way. So just make sure that when you're making the decision and when you're weighing your options, you determine, number one, does it align with my values? Number two, does it align with my values right now? Am I able to right now provide this in a way that I will feel comfortable with? Not just I want the home and I want it now, because I know that struggle too well. I am very impulsive when it comes to my purchase decisions, and I understand the struggle very, very well. But being able to step back and analyze whether or not this decision is actually right for you is very, very important when it comes to terms of your financial health and your ability to enjoy your lifestyle. All right, well, if you're liking this video so far, hit the thumbs up button and let me know in the comments what stood out to you, if you have any other questions, and feel free to subscribe to my channel because I will try to share more videos like this too. I do want to do one last thing before I leave you, is I promised to dispel the myth. At the beginning of the video, I talked about a myth of you have to be an adult to own, or you have to own a home in order to be considered an adult. And I'm going to debunk that myth right now. So society right now is way different than it has been in previous generations. It is not the same financially, economically, socially, situationally. It's nowhere near the same as what it used to be in 50, 60, 20, 10 years ago, right? It is different. Times right now are different. And maybe back in our grandparents' generation or even our parents' generation, homeownership did indicate security and stability in finances. But another thing that needs to be considered is in those generations, a lot of times there have been spikes in the economy that made homeownership extremely unaffordable. But the general trend was that housing was actually affordable. But as a general trend and a general expectation, housing has never been on a broad level as unaffordable as it is right now. And the reason that factor is so important is that what once was considered a symbol of security now could be a symbol of anxiety and stress. So if you're doing it the right way and you're buying a home that you can afford and that you can get into, it might give you that sense of security and stability, and that is really good. And there's no problem with going for it if that's what you're wanting. But if it's going to be way too much money for you to afford, it's not going to give you any stability and any security. You're going to lose sleep at night. You're going to be really anxious and stressed out about your financial situation. You're not going to enjoy your lifestyle, and you might even have some bleed over into strained relationships or, lack of satisfaction in other areas of your life because you're so stressed about your mortgage payment. That to me does not sound like a stable adult. It sounds like a stressed out adult. And that's not what I want for you. So I want you to really understand that just because somebody tells you something doesn't make it true. Just because other people have told you you have to own a home, or just because social media is painting this picture of you're most adulty when you own a house, that's not true at all. What makes you the most responsible and stable adult is you feeling confident and comfortable with your financial situation, the fact that you're able to provide for yourself financially, and you have a savings that you're comfortable with, and you're able to handle unexpected expenses that come up. Those are little things that could indicate to you that you're doing well and you're being responsible with your money and you're financially stable. If a home ownership is not in the equation, then that's not even something that should be really considered as far as you trying to figure out what makes you feel stable and secure in your finances. I hope that you found this video helpful. If you did, I am so excited, and I hope you join me on the next one. And I hope you enjoy. I hope you join me on the next video. Until then, I will see you later.